Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Magnificent Show, a talk show where we spotlight Black excellence and we inspire solutions for issues affecting the Black people today. Today, we want to grapple around with this topic. The Black doll, is it just a toy or a social movement? And to find the answer and for that question, we have our guest, our beautiful sister, Mary Jane Shabangu, a young Black qualified certified counselor who will discuss further this question and give us answers. We want to know, is it just a toy? Is the Black doll just a toy? Or is it a social movement? Happy Women's Day to all women, and we welcome everyone in this show. Sis Mary J, welcome to our show.
Hi, Thabo. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. As Thabo has said, my name is Mary Jane Shabangu. I am a qualified registered counselor with the Health Professions Council of South Africa. Very excited to be here and to having this discussion. And yeah, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this. So I'm looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have today.
Thank you. To start off this conversation, I one time I was going through the Facebook and I actually screenshotted one of your posts where you said representation matters. Then I was very intrigued with how you articulated it, and I started looking into the conversation to say, truly, with a dolls as a picture post. Now, when I went through the research concerning that line which you actually asserted on Facebook, I realized that back in 1940, there was a couple psychologists called Kenneth and Mary May Clark who used dolls to investigate how Black children viewed racial identities. And in their findings, they discovered that given a choice, a Black child will choose a white doll over a Black doll. And now we want to understand, can you please just give us more detail on this doll test? Is it a theory, this doll test theory, if I may put it, and on how Black kids in our time see race?
Sure. I think what we also need to remember is that most of our lives, if not all of our lives, what we've been introduced to are, I'll call them black and white dolls, are white dolls. It was very rare for you to find a child, or to even find a child today. It's not a lot of kids that have dolls that look like them in terms of their skin color. I remember I was one of those kids that had a black doll, back then, like baby adorable, ne? I had a black one, but I don't remember where it came from. I just found it in Kini, and then, I played with it. But it wasn't even a playing with it because I understood what it was, or I didn't understand then why a black doll is important for me as a Black girl. But it was a matter of, it was the only doll that was available and the only doll that I could have gotten, because my mom wasn't going to buy me another one. She couldn't afford it, and I think just how throughout history, all we've been given, or all we've been exposed to are white dolls. White dolls are what have been sold to our parents, to us. It's what has been manufactured for the longest of time, and as a result, when we saw a black doll, or like a doll that is like that looks like us in terms of skin color, it wasn't really a thing of, oh my gosh, this is cool and whatnot. Even then, I remember with my doll, the other kids never wanted to play with my doll, because it's just like, why is your doll black? That doll is ugly. All of those negative things that are normally said about dark-skinned people and whatnot. And I think it was similar then, where I had a dark-skinned doll. and most of the
I think
kids, if not all of them, to age, with that doll. They wanted it lives. That's what we've been introduced. Black doll, then there's something wrong with the story. Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying something. So, we were used to white dolls, so it didn't make sense why you would get a black doll. But yeah.
So do you think then the research proves true that when given an opportunity, black children will actually choose a white doll over a black one?
Definitely. And I think it takes, for us to say that black kids will choose a black doll requires education on our part, because like I'm saying, that the norm is a doll is light in complexion, a doll is white. So when a doll is black, it's just like, okay, this is weird, this is out of the norm. So because of what we know, because of society, because of when you raise kids and you teach them in a certain manner, they grow up kanjalo. That's what they are used to. That's the norm. That's what society has introduced them to. So when they're given a chance to choose between a black doll and a white doll, they'll go for the white doll because then that's been the norm. Unless if it's a child that has been taught by their parents, it's okay. Now there's dolls that look like you, like you'll find it's no longer a baby born or a baby adorable, but it's baby amahle. It's a name that we know as a black community. It's a name that it's the name of Mtana Wase next door, somebody that you know. So it's a thing of, okay, I can identify with this one, but only if you have taught your kids, oh, it's okay, guys, we're black people, there's black dolls are beautiful, play with black dolls. But if we haven't, and because of how they've been raised, because of what they've been exposed to, they'll probably choose a white doll because that's what has always been the norm. That's what we've always been exposed to. So I definitely think that a black child will definitely choose a white doll over a black doll, unless if there's been a bit of education that has been given to the child in terms of, you need to play with a black doll. A black doll looks like you know kids that you've had conversations with around colorism, around racism, around representation. But otherwise kids will choose what they've been taught, what they've been exposed to, what the norm has been. Yeah.
So can we then say with you mentioned something that I think has been sort of a growing black doll market, wherein you find these black dolls with uh, ordinary black names like Abo Amahle, as you mentioned, and we have Abo Sbahle dolls. We have many other doll entrepreneurs who are actually coming up to converse, or rather to bring kids into the consciousness of being black through the toys. But now I want to understand, and from your perspective, and perhaps from your background and your experience with kids, that do you think there has been a shift of preference of the white doll over the black doll? And if there has been a shift, how has it been an indication of positive self-concept regarding the skin tone?
Okay. Look, I think there has been a shift, but like not to my satisfaction personally, because even then, with the black dolls that are in the market now, not a lot of people know about the black dolls or can even afford to buy the black dolls, because they're also like a bit expensive, because then the people that manufacture them need to cover costs and whatnot, right? Whereas maybe like a white doll would be much cheaper than a black doll, right? But I think there has been a shift, and nowadays we've got like parents that are like my age, or even younger or a bit older, but we're in a dispensation where we are not necessarily woke, but we have come to understand certain things about ourselves as black people, and we're embracing being black, being dark skinned. And we so then want to teach our kids that there's nothing wrong with you being a black person. It's actually beautiful. There's nothing wrong with you being darker than the other person. It's actually beautiful. So because we're embracing how we look, we're embracing who we are, we then also embrace the kind of toys, or rather the kind of dolls that we want to buy for our kids, for our siblings, for our nieces and our nephews, So because we're starting to embrace how we look as Black people, then as a result, we're also embracing getting our kids abo amahle, abo baby sibahle, abo baby Nhlanhla, abo baby Nokuthula, So because of us having embraced Ubtina, our dark skin, being Black, we're proud of it, we're embracing it, we're happy to be Black, we're understanding that being Black is beautiful, that being dark skinned is beautiful. So because of that, now we're just like, okay, we're bringing in that element of, let's get you toys, or let's get you a doll that looks like you, that represents who and what you are, that represents that dark skinned girl, that represents that Black girl from Alex, or that Black girl from Ewoodbank, or wherever it is that you come from. But it's a Black doll that looks like you, that represents, when you look at the doll, you're like, okay, lo fana nami lo, and they're so beautiful, like their hair, natural hair, they've got like a fro and all of those things. And it's just like, okay, I'm represented, like I'm seen as a Black person, and the kids then grow up with that, with knowing that actually I'm beautiful, I'm Black, and I'm beautiful. There's nothing wrong with me being Black. There's nothing wrong with me being dark skinned. Because then they see these dolls, and it's just like, okay, this is beautiful, because they made something that looks like me, and it's not just making things that look like abelu, but the fact that koninte fana nami, and then it's just like, okay, nami ngimuhle, muhle as a Black girl, and you pride yourself in being Black, you pride yourself in being a Zulu girl, you pride yourself in being a Sotho girl, or whatever it is. But as a Black girl, now there's a sense of worth, there's a sense of value that is attached, because you see that khona abonompopa abafana nathi, they saw it worthy, or they saw it important to create something that looks like me, so I do think there's a shift. Sorry, I got a bit passionate there, but I do think there's a shift from a preference of white dolls over Black dolls. I do think there's a shift.
And I think that I've realized, or I've observed rather, it's that there's been in terms of representation, we've seen dolls with Fentigo condition, we've seen dolls with who actually represent the spectrum in the Black society, and that has been quite nice. And now it brings me back to your statement, or rather, your statement that you posted once on Facebook, that representation matter. Why is it so important that Black children see dolls that represent them, that resemble them, and that depict them in a way? Whether you're an albino, you have albinism, whether you have ventico, whether you are dark-skinned, whether you have an afro, why is it important? Why is representation important?
Look, Thabo, I think a lot of these things rest on what we have been taught as something that's normal, and the opposite then automatically falling on it being abnormal. Like a person that has albinism, right? That's viewed as not being normal. It's viewed as something taboo in some instances, right? A person with vertigo as well, it's not normal. It's viewed as a defect in certain spaces and whatnot, right? And being dark skinned, being Black, is also viewed as something that's not beautiful, something that's not desirable, So when you create dolls, a doll that has vertigo, a doll that has albinism, a doll that is dark skinned, a doll that is Black, it brings in that element of, this is actually normal, there's nothing wrong with me, it doesn't make you feel like it's a punishment for me to have vertigo, it's a punishment for me to be a Black girl, it's a punishment for me to have albinism, to be an albino, and I think because of that, then we grow up knowing that we're perfect, we're beautiful, we're worthy, and we're valuable, and because of that, then I can continue living, and I actually don't need to, there's nothing wrong with me. You know, there's really nothing wrong with me. I'm a human being. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be celebrated. So when you see those dolls, it's just like, okay, this is beautiful. This is me. There's other people that are like this, and it's normal. You know, it's not like a like taboo or like an out of the norm situation where you don't really see, you know, when you don't see something, it's like it's not normal. But when you see a lot of something, it's normalized, even though maybe it might not be normalized. But when you see something in abundance, it's just like, okay, this is okay. Like if you see a lot of dolls, the reason why ngithi mawubona into ngobuningi, it seems like it's normal and whatever. Bawungathi uyabheka labo nompopi babelungu, we thought ukuthi that's what unompopi should look like, because that was what was created, that was what, sorry, was given to us as society, you know. And now that they're bringing in black dolls, dolls with vertigo, albino dolls, then we also learning that, okay, this is also normal, there's nothing wrong with me, you know. So it's just normalizing our existence. It's normalizing the different people and the different shapes and the different forms that we come in, you know. So yeah.
Now, I get what you are saying. I think that comes in a way where it conscientizes us as old people, conscientize parents to understand the importance, therefore, of representation when kids see all these things. Now, in this doll test, one of the things that also I learned from it, and I would like you to actually educate us further on it, is that those kids actually attributed positive qualities over the white doll. And when they were asked which one do you look like, they were not even proud to point that we look like this black one. And now
sorry, broke a bit there. Can you please start from scratch?
Okay, I would like you to actually educate us on something here. When I went through the doll test research, I picked up that these kids, these black children, they related what is beautiful, all good qualities on the white doll. So they seemingly characterize every positive attribute towards the white one. And when they were asked, which one do you look like? They pointed the black doll, but they were not proud to point it out. Now, I want you to actually take us through this, how the functions performed by a doll in a child play. What are those functions that are played by the black doll in a child play, number one? And what are the most crucial processes centering on the doll that can take place simultaneously while kids are playing, so that parents can understand the psychology behind a 4-year-old, a 5 years old playing with a doll? What are those processes happening throughout, according to psychology?
Okay, sure. So obviously then toys in general, dolls included. Toys in general teach abantwana like different skills, like your fine motor skills. So having to like grab, having to like hold, having to push and whatnot, like it trains their fine motor skills. It also trains them in terms of like their intellect, right? So things that challenge you in terms of like shapes of where to put what, you know, this is a specific thing. How do I play with it? How like it enhances their intellectualism as well. And then with dolls specifically, what dolls do, number one, is that they teach kids, they accustom them to babies, you know, especially if it's like a baby doll. They accustom kids to babies so that when they see babies, they know it's okay. There's a person that's like this, that's as small as this, and I shouldn't be scared of them, because then others cry, others need to be fed, nanani. So they teach kids how to relate with dolls, how to relate with babies and how to be around babies, number one. Number two, they also teach kids how to do life socially. So for example, if you get somebody a doll, right? If you get a child a doll, they'll be having conversations with that doll. They'll learn how to communicate. They'll learn how to, like Abangi, they teach dolls like it's real people, you know? So they learn how to communicate, how to say what they like, what they don't like, how to speak, you know? So dolls also work as a communicative tool for children, you know? And I think then that's the one thing that we can, or the two things rather, that we can speak in terms of what do dolls do for kids, dolls in general, right? But then when we move on to black dolls and what they do for conscientizing abantwana and, you know, just getting them to understand the concept of unompopi omnyama ofana naye. And I've mentioned this, I mean, in the previous questions that you've asked me, Uguti, it's basically just a whole concept of representation, of them understanding. Because guys, the truth of the matter is this: we have been taught about how being dark skinned is not desirable, it's not beautiful, how being black, there's a stigma attached to being black, being an albino, having vertigo, and whatever colors that we come in, forms that we come in. There's been stigmas that have been attached to that. So when we create such dolls, we teach our little girls, or however old the girl is, we teach them that, hey, this is beautiful. You know, there's nothing wrong with you. And then also that gives them confidence for them to be able to know what yazin, even in the color and the shape and the form that I come in, you know. And when then they've got self-confidence and their self-esteem has been raised, they are able to then become people in society that can contribute to society, because then they, like, even when they come into a space, you don't need to start with encouraging them and telling them that you're brilliant. You can be whatever you want. You can be a doctor, you can be this, you can be that, because then already they believe in themselves as a black girl, as a girl that struggles, or as a girl that's got vertigo, or as a girl that has albinism, you know. So it builds a lot also in their self-confidence, in their self-esteem, in their worth, in their value, you know. So that when somebody else comes into the picture and they say something like, you're weird, or you're disabled, or whatever, they know that actually, no, I'm normal. This is okay. This is fine, you know, so that whatever it is that they do, they're able to do it. And you don't need to start with self-esteem, because already you've normalized what they look like through the dolls or through the toys that you have been getting them that look like them and represent who and what they are. Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. You know, this is quite important. And I can see how then our society now needs to normalize black dolls, such that it must be a norm that the girl next door can have a black doll. But now I've observed as well that black dolls, since they've been mass produced since the 20th century, it seems as if when the black doll entered the market, white dolls have remained sovereign in the toy company. Even in black societies, you'll be shocked to go to a shop right in Soshanguve or in Emalahleni, like in a township. And when you look at the doll range there, you find that it's white dolls all the way. And the black dolls that are there, probably there are few. What is the problem? Why do we still have, in our economy, do we still have black dolls underrated while white dolls compete in the toy economy?
Look, I'm no expert in terms of that specifically, like the economy and why black dolls are not sold in many places where you find black people and whatnot, right? But this is my personal opinion. This is not like a professional one, right? And I think maybe the reasons vary from, you know, it's not one thing that's causing that. It could be that people that manufacture black dolls aren't marketing them, you know, they're not bringing them into is shop, right, and to be able to sell them in those spaces, right? And maybe if they are, maybe then they aren't meeting the requirements to be able to sell them or to to provide those services to isdollars fananales, So, I mean, I don't know what the reasons are, but they vary. But also maybe then it's costly to actually sell the dolls via our shop right now, Pick and Pay 99, and then much rather sell them as Dratini or sell them from person to person. It's a variety of reasons, But my thing is this. I think like I said, I'm not an expert, right? And these are speculations on my side, to be honest. Then there could be various reasons, guys, as to why we don't have Laoma Bonompopi, the black dolls, in the market in Kubolokshin, Abo Sosha, Abo Atreichville, Abo Bank Nanan, where the majority is black people in those areas, But then my thing is that let's then make sure that we get these dolls into those places if we're able to, if we have the money to be able to get them into that sector for them to be sold, then let's do that. But then also maybe because we just started out with the market of black dolls, it hasn't been a long time, maybe then as time goes on, we'll be able to get them into those markets, where people are able to buy them. And it's also quite possible that the reason why there's still parents that are buying their kids white dolls is because there's not a lot of black dolls as dollar las tengakon, because then, like you're saying, Guti, you don't find them in those shops for whatever reasons that manufacturers of those black dolls don't give or don't have them in those shops, So I think there's like a variety of reasons as to why singanawo unompopi abamnyama abaningi esitolo, as opposed to laba babelungu, because those have been in production for the longest of time. This is a new market that we are going into with black dolls. So maybe over time we'll be able to then say, hey, the amount of black dolls is the same as the amount of white dolls as doll, or even better, in places lasas we'll just bring in black dolls. But also then, guys, we need to also be aware of the fact that not everyone is going to want a black doll for their child. And that's okay, it's their decision, but yeah, like I said, I think there's a variety of reasons as to why we don't have a lot of black dolls, if at all any, in shops or in areas like Shalawanti Bamnyama.
Do you believe that the doll as a psychological tool depends on the quality of the doll and also of the affordability, therefore? And could the quality and the pricing of black dolls be a valid reason why black mothers don't buy them?
Do I believe that it is a psychological tool? Yes,
as a psychological tool, it depends. Yeah. Do you believe that as a psychological tool, the quality of the doll and also the affordability, therefore, like it depends as a psychological tool, it depends on the quality and it depends as well on affordability. And in your views, do you think the pricing of black dolls is a valid reason why black mothers don't buy them, or there's something else?
Valid reason. Look, again, I don't think it's a blanket statement or like a black and white situation, because affordability does play a huge role in people buying stuff or not buying stuff. If the black dolls are expensive and white dolls are cheaper, obviously a parent that is not in a financial status or financial position to be able to buy a doll, with 400 rand. Amahle is not that expensive. I'm just saying, Guti, angazi malini amahle actually, but I'm just making an example. If amahle costs 400 rand, and then unompopi nje onganagama was a shop right is 100 rand, and umzali has to pick between the two because aganamali, because of their financial stance. Obviously, they'll pick unompopi was a shop right umlungu over unompopi amahle, because amahle uyadura, and also amahle equality is proper. Amahle, like everything about amahle is proper, whereas law was a shop right is probably just like unompopo ngapuka noma kunini. But because of affordability and lifestyle yabantu and their financial stance, they will probably then not go for baby amahle because baby amahle uyadura. Then what that means is that that's what they grow up with. Will they know and appreciate their blackness, them having vertigo, them being an albino? Yeah, they could, or they couldn't. So it's not set in stone. It could be that adlale ngonompopo omlungu, but umamakhe akwazi ukumfundisa futhi ukuthi you are a black girl and whatnot. But I mean, that education coupled with unompopi omnyama, for me, I think is a formidable combination. It does great wonders. But in the event that you are unable to get baby amahle and you just get a white doll, but then you teach your child to appreciate being black, and you find other means and ways to teach them to appreciate being black or having vertigo or being an albino, then yeah. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Will that not be a conflicting statement? We spoke about the importance of representation, racial representation. Yeah. Is it not going to be a conflict wherein you buy your kid a white doll? On the other hand, you are teaching them principles of Ubuntu, principles of Black beauty, while when they are playing, they're actually playing with a black doll. Is that not a contradicting nurturing?
I don't think it's contradicting nurturing. And the reason I'm saying that is because, guys, I'm a pocket fan, and if what you can afford at this point in time is unompopi womlungu because uchipa no amash, then and at the end of the day, unompopi then plays a role in helping the child to develop however they're developing. So I wouldn't say conflicting because of the personal reasons or the financial stances wabantu. I am still for representation. I always say representation matters. But in the event that you are unable to buy your child amahle, so that means something that will help them, to develop socially, intellectually, even physically. So however unompopi helps them to grow. So my thing is this, then maybe you can supplement with something else that is going to teach them about appreciating their blackness. Or you might not even just buy unompopi umlungu and buy other things that are going to teach your child about being black. You don't necessarily have to buy unompopi, but I'm just making an example. In the event that umntwana ufuna unompopi and ubaby amahle uyadura and kunompopi umlungu or cheaper, what do you do as a parent? Because you also want your child to be able to have into yokudlala, and you can't afford ubaby amahle. So uzohlala ungamthengela umntwana into yokudlala. You see what I'm saying?
So don't you think that we need to be intentional because of the history, because of our history, of the background we come from, of apartheid and colonization? Don't you think we need to be intentional in really conscientizing the next generation to be
do. We definitely do. But then my question is this: if you don't have the resources that, like for example, in this case, our conversation is about unompopi. If you don't have the resources, then you find something else to teach your kids about Black history. But if you are able to buy those black dolls, I encourage you to buy black dolls for your kids. In the event that financially you are not in a position to do that, you find other things that will teach them about being Black, about just loving being Black, appreciating being Black, So my point is this: representation matters. That I will always stand by. But in the event that financially you can't give your child izinto that will help them to understand or to accentuate that understanding of a representation, then you find other things that will help them to understand them being Black and love their Blackness and appreciate their Blackness. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No,
I want us. Yeah, no, I want us then to close it here. I would like us to close it with this.
Yeah.
What is your advice to parents about the importance of racial representation, number one, and how they can be intentional in developing a positive racial attitude and identity? Because to be honest, we know that if you go to any township, the struggle of racial attitudes and identity is real. It's real to see you'll be so shocked that a 10-year-old will look at the white boy same age and be inferior towards him because he feels this one is more of a human than I, or he's greater than me. So I need to serve him without being taught by anyone. So how can parents, using the mechanisms that as probably psychology can provide, and what we can provide a solution to say, how can they develop as parents, be intentional about developing a positive racial attitude and identity? In this case, as we're mentioning black dolls, we know that they could be our hope for liberating the little ones. So what is your advice? What is your advice to parents?
Yeah, ne? So the truth of the matter, guys, is that a lot of the things that, or a solution to a lot of what we are currently experiencing in terms of the inferiority complex that we have when it comes to white people, can only be solved when we teach our kids and when we teach ourselves also. Like, drill it in our minds, Uguti, white people are not superior to us, regardless of what other white people may say, what other white people may do, how they might make us feel, but they're not superior to us. We're not inferior to them, you know? And as a parent, your kids learn from you, what they see you do, how they see you speak, how they see you respond. So they learn from seeing, right? So my advice is that in how you speak about white people, in how you interact with white people, your kids are learning. So be very careful of how you conduct yourself when there's white people. If you're going to be around white people and be tamed and be inferior, that's what you're teaching your children. Your children are going to do exactly that when they are around white people. When you're sitting with your kids, sorry guys, there's noise outside. When you're sitting with your kids, teach your children that you are Black, you are beautiful, and you are powerful. You're not inferior to white people. So the things that you speak over them, the things that you speak to them, the things that you speak with them about them. So be pro-Black as a parent. And being pro-Black doesn't mean you are anti-white, right? So teach your kids about being Black and let them appreciate it, you know, how you appreciate your Blackness also as a parent will play a huge role in your kid, you know, when you are going for a service, when you're taking your child to a doctor, find a Black doctor, take them to a Black doctor, let them know that there's Black people that are professionals, there's Black people that occupy great and important spaces. When you're taking your child on a vacation or whatever it is that you are doing, when you are buying something, buy from Black people, support Black people, introduce them to brilliant Black people. There's a lot of Black people that are brilliant, doctors, lawyers, whatever. Kids can look up to and be able to say, hey guys, you know, as Black people, there's Black people that are prominent, Black people that are doing great things. So introduce them to such things, you know, take your kids to go watch Black movies, South African movies that are good for them and within their age restriction. Whatever you do, support Black things and teach your kids, Uguti, as a Black person, we've got brilliant Black people that are doing other great things. Buy your kids if you can afford it. Let your kids read books from Black people. Let your kids listen to brilliant music from Black people. Obviously, all of this within the confines of Ugutumtana Kunangaki and whatever music and whatever books they're reading are appropriate for a child around your age. I mean, there's a book that I've seen. It's called Wanda, I think, and it's written by Black ladies. I know one of the ladies, Usihle. She wrote the book with someone else, and it's Black people. Buy those books for your children. Let them read lezo that have been written by Black people. So how you conduct yourself, how you speak about white people, how you allow white people to treat you, automatically then infiltrates down to them. So they'll learn that behavior, they'll learn that language, they'll learn ukuthi, okay, and unfortunately then then they'll always feel inferior if they're now mosebelungwini you are just like, inferior, and you don't stand your ground, and you don't teach your kids how to stand up for themselves, how powerful they are as Black people, because abantwana babelungu, guys, best believe they know ukuthi basuphira bayabafundisa. They don't struggle with things that we struggle with. And obviously, bearing in mind ukuthi there's been apartheid, there's been a lot that Tina as Black people we have really gone through, and we're still recovering from that. But in the recovery, teach your kids, be pro-Black as a parent, teach your kids about being Black and the beauty of being Black and how much they have power. If both of us are going to St. Thomas or both of us are going to Kuro, we are the same. We are the same. We might not be the same in terms of your parents might have more money than me, but we are the same. We are given the same opportunities. I have every right and every opportunity to be here. So by virtue of that, siyalingana, but yeah, be pro-Black, teach your kids about being Black, introduce them to great Black people, introduce them to Black spaces, go into restaurants that are Black owned, all of these things. Just teach your kids about being Black. Yeah,
thank you so much, Mary Jane, to honor us. And this is quite an interesting conversation in that we can go over and over. But now you mentioned some critical things that I think they're important to be said again. That we need to, number one, let the kids observe us as old people, because the concern, the whole purpose of this show was to conscientize parents to know that there are things that affect the child psychologically. So if you think kids are not listening, you must know that they are watching. And number two, the issue of exposure, it's quite on point, so on point, that what we expose our kids to, it's what they will able to expand their capacities as well. So thank you so much for being with us, and I hope Black parents will go out and buy those Black dolls, because those Black dolls are good for representation. They will, just like they do with education. I'm aware that in our time now, you can find a single mother staying in the township, in the slums, but the child going to a good school, going to a good quality school. And you ask yourself why? It's because we have come to a point where we put first things first. We prioritize to say education is important. And if education is important, regardless of where we are, regardless of how much we earn, we strive to make sure that we give our kids best education. So I plea to every Black parent, let a Black doll be a priority. Whether you are working at the kitchen, wherever you are, buy your beautiful Black angel, a Black doll. Thank you so much, Mary Jane. May you have a blessed night and happy Women's Day, and have a blessed night. Thank you, everyone.